I'm going to start teaching aptitude. As you all see, I started this. So, teaching aptitude, as APJ Abdul Kalam said, educationists should build the capacity of the spirit of inquiry, creativity, entrepreneurship, and moral leadership among students and become their role model. What is teaching aptitude? Actually, we all are depend development of human resources, so we need highly competent teachers also, so that we can evaluate the candidates, their skill, their knowledge, their qualification, intelligence, and attitude. Apart from teaching concept, teaching objective, teaching methods, and teaching aids, these are very important. So teaching can be both formal and informal. What is teaching? Teaching is a purposeful direction and management of the learning process. Teaching is a process of providing opportunities, engagement, and experience. Teaching is skillful application of knowledge, experience, and scientific principle. How clearly the student understand what they are expected to learn, how accurately their learning can be measured. Teaching is a process in which the learner, teacher, and other are organized. Teaching is an activity child to learn, acquire desired knowledge. So basic teaching models are instructor centered teaching. What is the instruction? If instructor are there, like teaching is a conventional approach. In this method, the instructor more or less control the material to be learned. So the purpose of this method learning is to inquire the memorize the new knowledge. Instructor can be also described as pedagogical approach. So what is pedagogy? Pedagogy is a science of teaching. It determines how the teaching occurs and the approach to teaching and learning, the way the content is delivered. Okay, so pedagogical approach is depends upon instructor. What is instructor is saying? Learner centered approach is opposite of the pedagogical approach, and here learning self-directed and responsible. Learner is responsible for everything, discovering new things, and instructor facilities learning of participant and help them by offering opportunities. It's a self evaluation. Nature or and feature of teaching is different level of teaching is there. Dynamic environment, learning, instructing, and training. Intellectual activity, we can say it's a science as well as arts. It's self organization also, and social services also included in this. Degree of autonomy, continuous process, and profession. So there are different level of teaching. First is memory level teaching. So memory level teaching is given by the Hubbard. It is initial stage. It indicate the habit of the rote memorizing. So teaching learning process is basically stimulus response there. It enables the learner to retain and also to reproduce the learned whenever required. The evaluation system mainly include oral, written, and essay type. Good memory includes rapidly in the learning, stability, retention, and recalling ability is also there. Understanding level given by the Morrison, memory plus insight both are in the understanding level. It makes people understand the generalization principle and facts. They provide more and more opportunity for the student to develop the intellectual behavior, people and teacher for the assimilation of the facts. Reflective level teaching, that is main proponent of the reflective level, problem centric approach. And reflective level is the open and independent classroom should be there, and it's problem centric also, and teaching includes the ULT and MLT also. And it's reflective power of learners so that can solve the problems of their life. Reasoning, logic, imagination lead successful every life. The people occupy the primary place and teacher assume secondary place. Okay, and it's a essay type test should be there, and attitude, belief, involvement also. Dynamic environment is what teaching is dominated by the communication, and teaching changes according to time and place. So as a student depend upon teaching for learning, students are assumed to be dependent variables. So teacher are considered independent variable and learner is the dependent variable. Okay, and its facilitate teaching learning process term is the intervening variable. Closely related education, like education is what? Education is a general sense is a form of learning in which knowledge, skill, and habits, teaching, training, research simply through didacticism, that is self learning. Learning means activity and the experience. Learning can be defined as a relatively permanent change in the individual behavior as a result of experience or the practice. This can be compared to other primary process producing relatively permanent change like maturation. Some method of the acting, learning, discussion, practice sections are also there. Instruction, it is the delivery of the content by the teacher. It does not involve an instruction between the teacher and learner, but it still facilitate the achievement of that objective of the teaching. Next is training. Training is the imparting the candidate specific job related techniques. That is the training. Job related technique, if we are providing, that is the training. Indoctrination can be termed as the highest order of teaching. Okay, so in indoctrination, the belief and the ideas are impressed upon other and can be included in the teaching also. So it's a higher level of the teaching. Okay. Syllabus is what? Syllabus is a descriptive in the nature, and it's core for the education and training both. So exam board make the syllabus. Okay, curriculum is what? Curriculum usually refer to a defined and prescribed course of study. So curriculum can also be defined as sum total of all the experiences that a student undergo in his school, including academic, extracurricular, everything. Intellectual activity, teaching is also an intellectual activity because we generate new idea, we express new idea, supportive learning environment, learning process. Okay, teaching is a science and art both, with the derived social, psychological, historical, political, economical sphere life. This is religious, spiritual, and ethical also. So basis of assumption of the science teacher can be trained. There are defined steps. Okay, in individualization approach is also there. Self organization is what? The people in teaching profession are sensitive towards growth and development because it is self organized also. And teaching, the growth in teaching profession is organic in nature. Social services also, high degree of autonomy is in teaching because of you are teaching to divide admission and promotion, rules, autonomy, planning, execution, everything is in the teaching. Teaching is a profession. We go for MA, BA, we go for PhD, we go for teaching. So that is, as a profession is also very important. Effective teaching practice, maxims of the teaching. So from simple to complex, actually teachers should start with simple things and ideas, and these can be done with day by day example. This creates interest among the learner to acquire new knowledge. From known to unknown, this is related to first maxim. Retention is always better if new knowledge can be linked with the known one. That is the from known to unknown. From seen to unseen, the student should be imparted knowledge about the present. They can be understand the past and future better. From concrete to abstract also. Okay, and they become familiar with the defined micro words. From particular to general, so the general law and their derivation can be explained to them. Experiments, demonstration. From whole to part, Gestalt psychology have proved that we first see whole object and then its parts. So what I taught you, that teaching practice from simple to complex, from known to unknown, from seen to unseen, from concrete to abstract, from particular to general, from whole to part. So we first perceive the tree and then its trunk and branches. From indefinite to definite, the teacher should help to transform indefinite knowledge into definite one. From psychological to logical, also from analysis to the synthesis. Initially, the student have little or vague knowledge about the topic analysis, but synthesis mean to understand by connecting the knowledge acquired through the analysis. Follow the nature and training of the senses, like gateway to the knowledge, maximum of their senses. Okay, so Montessori and the Froebel are the main proponent of the maxim. Encouragement to the self study also. Principle of the teaching, principle of the motivation, create the curiosity. Principle of activity, learning by doing. Froebel kindergarten system is based on the principle. It includes both physical and mental activity. Principle or interest, by generating interest among the learners and community. Effectiveness, teaching learning. Principle of linking with the life, linked with can be the more enduring. Principle of definite aim, this is important for optimum utilization of the teaching resource, making learning more focused. Principle of recognize individual differences, like potential क्या है, socio-economic background, and make all the student to avail the equal opportunity in the life. Principle of selection, the origin of the knowledge is expanding each, so it's relevant and updated to the learner activity. Principle of planning is also there. So principle of division is also there. Principle of revision is also there. Acquired knowledge should be revised immediately. Principle of creation of recreation is also there, and principle of democratic dealing. So self confidence, self aspect is also important. Principle of motivation and interest. A teacher need to understand that every student is unique psychological entity, and the student can be motivated after identifying motive and needs. Principle of recreation means recreation is a necessity to tackle the fatigues, and principle of repetition and exercises also. Principle of encouraging the creativity and self expression. Principle of sympathy, cooperation. Principle of reinforcement, and principle of imparting training, and principle of remedial teaching. These all are the psychological principle of the teaching. Now what is the micro teaching? Micro teaching is a teaching training technique for learning technical skill, teaching skill. So it employs real teaching situation for developing teaching skill and help to get deeper knowledge regarding the art of teaching. Like we are going for plan, reteach, reobserve, and it is a proven method to attain the gross improvement in the instruction experiences, so that skill and practice of micro teaching have been implemented. Objective of teaching: knowledge driven society where information have an increasingly short life, so it is important for the teacher to focus on the long term goals. So here is obsolescent body of knowledge and developing, then understand, apply and create knowledge, as well as the constantly refresh, upgrade the knowledge. And next one is instruction and the state of change. And instruction should make it a student behavior. Objective should be specific, outcome based. First and foremost point to be considered in teaching learning process is what a student will be able to do, and end up the instructions, and the objective of teaching and learning integrate at the end of instruction. Classification of the teaching instruction objective: cognitive domain, it is related to the development of the intellectual capability, it is the core learning domain. The other domain required at least some cognitive component. What first is knowledge. So Bloom's classification of the teaching and instruction is given here. Bloom given some instruction objective fall under the following three category. First is cognitive domain. So in cognitive domain, Bloom talked about the core learning domains. First one is knowledge. It is basically about recalling the information, that is knowledge in the cognitive domain. Second is comprehension. It is the ability to grasp the meaning of the material. Third is application. It converts the abstract knowledge into the practice. And fourth is analysis, and involve the breaking down a communication into its constituent. Again, next one is synthesis. It is basically about the combination of the constituent parts. And last one is evaluation. So higher order was the evaluation, but involved the judgment made about the value of the method. So first one is knowledge, then comprehension, then application, then analysis, then synthesis, then evaluation, that is the value of the method and material. Next is affective domain. In affective domain, it deals with the attitude, motivation, and willingness to the participate, valuing what is being learned, and ultimately incorporating the value of the discipline into the way of life. So here first is receiving, that is willingness to learn, listen. Responding, that is willingness to participate. Valuing, that is willingness to involve. Organizing, willingness to be the advocate the idea, and characterizing, willingness to change the behavior. Receive, respond, value, organize, and characterization. Next is psychomotor domain. So it is mainly concerned with the acquisition of the technical skill. So there is a psychomotor domain. Imitation, that is it includes the demonstration of the skill by a skilled person. Manipulation, a learner try to experiment with the various aspects like the manipulation of machinery and equipment. Precision, accuracy in performing various increase the practice. Articulation, achieving a desired level of efficiency and effectiveness. And naturalization, skill in is internalized, individual is able to adapt, modify, and design new techniques and method, that is naturalization. Okay, next one is Genge and the Briggs classification of teaching and instruction objective. So what Bloom's given the technological development, which was cognitive domain, affective domain, receiving, responding, valuing, organizing, and characterization is the last one. And psychomotor domain, here he given imitation, manipulation, precision, articulation, naturalization. What he given? Imitation means the demonstration of the skill. Manipulation means someone tried to experiment in that is manipulation. Precision means accuracy in the performing various increase or decrease, whatever is that. Articulation means to articulate, to increase the efficiency and effectiveness. And naturalization is a skill interlinked and individual able to adapt and modify in new techniques. So this is given by this. But now Genge and Briggs given the classification. First is intellectual skill, which is include the concept of the learning, rule learning, and the problem solving. Next one is cognitive strategy. It include the technique for one's own learning, remembering, and thinking the skill. Next is the verbal information. It refer to the organized body knowledge that is individuals acquired verbal information. Next is motor skill, that is they are basically about motions carried out the brain, nervous system, and the muscle together. Next is attitude. They refer to the internal state of individual. Method of teaching: larger group teaching, small group teaching, and the individual teaching. Three teachings are there. In order to make the efficient effective use of these, understanding the characters and the approaches, we are going for teaching center strategy, lecture, team teaching, and TV video presentation. That is large group. If we are in the large group, there will be lecture, team teaching, and the TV. Mixed strategy is the group discussion, seminar, panel discussion, brainstorming, project method, tutorial, case study, role play, simulation, and demonstration. That is the mixed strategy. And student centers the tutorial, assignment, project work, case study, program instruction, computer assisting learning, interactive video, open learning, personalized system, and the heuristic method. So first was the teacher center. Teacher center में आएगा कि what are the large group method in the teacher centered. So lectures, he can go for lectures, team teaching can be there, TV videos can be there. Mixed teaching is what? That is small group discussion. Seminar is also the small group. Okay, lectures are big. Panel discussion, brainstorm कर रहे हो. Then project methods are there, tutorials are there, case study are there, role playing, simulation, demonstration, and student centered. It's very like student centered tutorial हो जाएंगे, assignments, project work, case study, project को इंस्ट्रक्ट करोगे, ओपन लर्निंग हो गया. दैन पर्सनलाइज सिस्टम है, कंप्यूटर असिस्टेड लर्निंग है, प्रोग्राम्ड इंस्ट्रक्शन है, ह्यूरिस्टिक मेथड इज ऑल्सो द स्टूडेंट सेंटर्ड मेथड. इट्स इंडिविजुअलाइज्ड मेथड. Now large group method is what? Is building up the basic theoretical knowledge that must be gained before practice or before participating session. In certain situations such as large audience, teaching resource, or the shortage of time, so lectures can be either one way or two way depending upon the presence absence of the facility to seek further information, classification, and explanation. Effective, namely the preparation. So economic, as it can cover large audience in the less time. Simulation, further learning, flexibility, adapting the lectures according to the time and available. Limitation, student may be a passive listener. Two-way communication not very suitable for the developing the mental skill. Stressful हो सकता है. Team teaching is what? Team teaching का मतलब होता है innovative approach to teaching large group. So sharing the best faculty, more student, optimal use of the multiple teaching, improvement of the teaching quality, finding the teaching with a special competency, more teachers required to be method. Not useful for teaching all subjects. Now TV and video, many important personalities, experts are there in the classroom for the video presentation. Especially useful for the adult learner and easily accessible for the learner in the remote areas also. And its aids such slides, models, specimens are there. Geography, astronomy, many subjects are taught there with this two-way communication and the adjusting the plicated schedule to telecast period. Now small group technique is what? That is a group discussion. Small group 3 to 12 training will be there. And a small group is a group discussion is one of the basic method and plan. There are the certainty about conclusions and objectivity. Discussion is guided by the trainer and the sequence partly planned. That is discussion in between in not directly or very loosely. Participation of all the group member. Critical thinking होगी. Training free to express their idea and the opinion. Good for the development of oral and non-verbal written communication. Time consuming when it not very systematic. Possibility domination by the few participants. Leading a discussion required a change role which may not be realizing. Now seminar is the type of group discussion where one trainee or the several prepare a paper on the given topic and which is then presented to the whole group for the discussion. That is seminar. So a series of seminar can be presented by the trainee around the major topic, and seminar preparation of the paper, presentation of the paper, and discussion on it. So इट इज़ टाइम कंज्यूमिंग होता है एंड नीड टू ग्रुप ट्रेनिंग विद ए फेयरली हाई लेवल अटेनमेंट होना चाहिए. प्रोवाइड अपॉर्चुनिटी टू द ट्रेनिंग एंड प्रोवाइड द अपॉर्चुनिटी टू ट्रेनिंग टुवर्ड्स द प्रैक्टिकल ग्रुप लीडरशिप. Next one is panel discussion. Panel discussion consists of small group of the 6 to 8 person. They carry on a guided and informal discussion before audience. For example, a panel discussion takes place in the issue of the climate change. Okay, so panel discussion if we conduct are usually more interesting to the audience and usually on the socially relevant issues, bringing expert to a single forum and the audience is not actively involved. Brainstorming is a creative group work in which groups members produce a large number of the ideas. Anyone can exchange remark with anyone except that participants are not allowed to criticize the ideas. Okay, so several rounds of brainstorming are conducted till all the ideas are exhausted. It encourages the creativity, large participation, and we do not require much preparation. It is not very systematic and it possibly some training being reluctant to the participate. Project method is can be described as both as a small group and the individual instructions also can be there. So they can individual interest, very little is taught from the textbook, emphasizes experimental learning also. So students are likely to develop the habit of the critical thinking and develop the habit of working. Continuous monitoring होना चाहिए, additional resources होना चाहिए. Role playing is the effective by many teachers help solve the classroom interpersonal problems, and role playing has also been used to facilitate subject matter learning through the dramatization. It is simulates real life situation, interactive of the interesting. It entail the participant every member of the group. It gives the immediate feedback and it develop the social decision making and the problem solving. It is effective change attitude of the participant. It has under predictable and situation are usually more complex here. Simulation is the means creating conditions that are quite similar to the actual condition. Then the training is provided under those conditions. For example, the training of the pilots and astronaut का जो होता है creating condition that are quite similar to the actual condition, जो कि same होती है actual condition, उसे simulation कहा जाता है. ठीक है, so pilots and astronauts are go for the simulation because the situation are just similar to the actual conditions. they are economic होते हैं, safety aspect होने चाहिए, entail high initial investment चाहिए होता है. ठीक है, now है tutorial. So tutorial is the method employed for the teaching in a small group, developing skills, solving numerical problems. It is appropriate for taking care of individual differences and guiding the student as per their needs and mastery. Focus attention, generate more ideas, better control. It is difficult to find a suitable phase. It can be time consuming. Demonstration method, time method is based on the principle of learning by doing and learning from the concrete to abstract. It is adopted in the classroom for the achievement of the cognitive, affective, and the psychomotor objectives. Demonstration can be defined as the combination of the verbal explanation coupled with a live display using the apparatus for the presenting important facts and ideas. It is effective in the explaining material objects. It's effective explaining abstract concept. And here's the cognitive, psychomotor, and the affective domain. The next one is individualized teaching method. The individualized method of the instruction can be defined as the instruction designed to meet the needs of the individual learner and to accommodate the differences displayed between the learner. So assignments are given to student for a number of purpose such as the acquiring the additional information, survey करना, application of the knowledge. Main role is the learner. The teacher too has a crucial role. The teacher has to plan the assignment. Assignment can be prepared on any type of the topic. Then the assignment should be open and should be promote creativity. It help to the student for the work independently. It help to the sharpening the student comprehensive analytical problem solving ability and creativity. Case study, unlike the traditional lecture based teaching, student participation in the classroom is minimum. So the case method is the active learning method. Participation involvement from the student of the classroom. A case is usually a description of actual situation commonly involving a decision, a challenge, an opportunity, and problem or issue. So it's learning with a case study. The student must deal with the situation describing in the case. Psychological management, biology, law, and the sociology and the history. So allowing the student to gain the hand-on experience on the real world and shifting the work focus from the professor to the student. Case can be short from brief classroom discussion एंड रियल वर्ल्ड प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है. इट प्रोवाइड द अपॉर्चुनिटी टू द पार्टिसिपेट एनालाइज क्रिटिकल एग्जामिन इवेल्यूएट. इट enhance the decision making and active participation. It's required training and it's useful for the whole subjects and situation. That's not important. Programmed instructions is what? It is regular feedback should be there, participation of the learner should be there. Instruction is a general term for the highly structured system. Personalized system instruction is the can be used for the whole subject matter except where the student are to be the select. So mastery in the learning, self pacing, stress of the written material, proctor and lecture. It is best suited for the content that are usually conveyed through the written material. It is based on the mastery learning. It facilitates the self-paced learning. It not suitable for the rapidly changing course, but it is not suitable for the psychomotor and the affective domain. Computer assisted learning is a concern with the use of the computer to mediate the flow of the information in the learning. A computer is the ability to process information quickly, accurately, and adapt respond to the learner needs, difficulties, and the progress, which is much greater than that of the book of the video tape. Open learning is delivering the instructions where the learner has open access to the learning resources, material, equipments. Attendance are not necessary. So the face-to-face instruction between the teacher and the student, so the tutorial should form a part of open learning. Use of the multimedia. Open learning instruction is how not suitable for the rapidly changing nature. Flexible of the learner, that is the open learning. Next is interactive video. Is the approach to teaching can be improved to achieve cognitive, psychomotor, affective objective. Learner to randomly assess any piece of information and provide the immediate feedback. Video simulation with the more video presentation for the real image. Interactive video approach enhance the decision making power. Heuristic method. The method was advocated by the Professor Armstrong. In this method, the student has to find out the answer to his own problem by the unaided efforts. Thus, the child become a discoverer of the knowledge by the developing a spirit of inquiry. And aim to teaching by this method is not to provide the much fact about the science and mathematics grammar. Self-learning approach is the heuristic. Differentiated instructions. Differentiated instruction is a dynamic proactive method. It means that the teacher plan and use a variety of the way to teach the learning. It is a combination of the whole group, small group, and the individual instructions. And it uses the multiple approach to accommodate the multiple intelligence. Blended learning is the term originated in the USA. There are no clear single definition available for it, but blended learning combines online learning and face-to-face learning, both of that. Multiple approaches of the pedagogy of the teaching is also in that. Okay, so blended learning is to provide the most effective teaching instructions. Next is learning defined. So what is the learning? Learning is the process whereby the behavior of an organism undergo change as a result of experience. Learning is relatively a permanent change and which is acquired through the experience. Learning is a way through which human being acquire new skill, attitude and knowledge. So what is learning? To get the new things, psychological nature change, that is learning. Learner characteristics are mainly about the individual differences. Learner have many common characteristics. Teacher needs to understand both the commonalities and the differences in order to meet the student needs, as a no two individuals are alike. There are variation among the learner. So heterogeneity is the increase day by day and interpreted the valued same. So therefore it is understandable why a variety of methods, resources and parts should be provided. Thus, while designing the instruction plan, improved task for the designer. Element of the learning is learner. The learner must be interpreted the stimulate difference and combine them. A stimulus, any stimulus or the set of stimuli to which learner is sensitive can become a part of his learning situation. The internal conditions of the learner is the self-concept and needs, motive, intellectual intelligence, response. Main steps for the learning is the first is reception, gaining the attention by making some abrupt change in the stimulus and stimuli. Second is expectancy, means informing learner of the objective that what they will be able to do after learning. Retrieving to working memory, stimulating recall and prior knowledge, and selecting preparation, displaying the content and cementing and coding like learning guidance. Now next one is responding, asking the learner to perform. Reinforcement, providing feedback, that is the reinforcement, and retrieval and reinforcement, additional performance by the learner. And generalization is last one, that is more practice varied problem as to increase the retention. So what is the learner main step for the learning? First is reception means gaining attention by making some abrupt changes. Expectancy means informing the learner of the objective. Retrieving working memory is stimulating recall. Selecting the perception, what is the content? Semantic encoding, now learning guidance. And then respond karna, then reinforcement means providing feedback. Retrieval, reinforcement, again feedback. And generalization will be the last, that is practice of varied problems, so increase the retention. Types of learner. So on the basis of personal and social attribute, there are many types of learner. First is what is age and maturity level, motivational attitude towards the subject, expectation toward vocational aspirations, spatial talent है, mechanical dexterity, ability to work. These are the learner's characteristics. Adult learner is the problem centered, result oriented and self directed. So adult learners is the skeptical about the new information and accept the responsibility for their own learning. But the youth learners is the subject oriented, focus on the course completion, future oriented, dependent upon the adult for direction, more likely to accept new information and dependent upon the others. Okay, so adult is dependent on the sibling, like accept responsibility on learning, that is adult, but dependence on others, that is youth. Skeptical about the new information and that is more likely to accept the new information. So youths are dependents and adults are not dependent, they are self-directed and result oriented. Now learner characteristics of the basis learning style are learning style are traits that refer to how learner receive and process the information. Silverman developed one set of category analyzing the individual learning. So learner type and learning style. Visual means pictures, diagram. Auditory means words and sound. Intuitive means insight and hunches. Inductive means from fact to generalization. Inductive means fact to generalization. Deductive means from theory to individual fact. If there is a theory and now we are going for individual fact, that is deductive. Actively means physical engagement or the discussion. Reflectively means introspection. If there is a reflective learning, that is introspection. Sequentially means series of related steps, and globally means large jump or holistic approach. So learner characteristics of the basis of the listening skill. Active listening, it is listening with a purpose. Empathic listening, it is form of active listening in which you attempt to understand the others. Evaluating listening, critical listening, that is for the meaningful and accuracy will be there. Next one is learner characteristic on the base. Appreciative listening is also there for the relaxing, involving fun, that is appreciative. Learner characteristics on the basis of thinking. First is reflective thinker, that is view new information, relate new information and always ask why. Creative thinker like to play with new information, always ask why, create their solution. Practical thinkers always look for the factual information, seek simplest and most effective way. Now conceptual thinker accept new information and know how things work and learn the concept for the present, but also want to